So welcome everyone, welcome to our webinar. We are Built. We are a bunch of entrepreneurs who have come together to create a new startup that effectively does four things. We help entrepreneurs who want to build their dream products. We help entrepreneurs using our managed service, which is also shared, okay, to make building that product much more cost effective, much more streamlined. But we also make sure, okay, that the building of the project, or the product I should say, is supervised by certified Agile product managers. And that means that you have a seal of authentication, what have you, around the quality of the product that comes out. But more importantly, okay, for each product, for each project that we work on, we have teams of professional developers who are within the top 3% within a particular domain or particular industry. Okay, so without much more ado, okay, I'll introduce myself. I'm Segun Osu. I'm one of the co-founders. I have experience across Agile, experience across Lean, and experience across strategy, working for startups, but also working for very large organizations. My experience goes back, you wouldn't believe it, 30 years. I surprise myself sometimes. And Alex, you want to talk a little about yourself?
Of course, yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm Alex Stokel. So I'm got up 20+ years of experience in technology and project delivery and management. So I've worked some of the largest organizations as well, so delivered over tens of maybe hundreds of projects so far. I've also been a founder of 2 companies before this, building digital products, so very much well know the other side as well. And what's worth mentioning is for the last 5 years, I've been a technology advisor for the government and built a number of digital services. Some of them you may have actually used as well. Yeah, so that's me in a nutshell. I'm running a digital consultancy and now, built with this lovely bunch of people now. That's me.
Okay. So we're gonna, just for the sake of time, we're not going to introduce everyone, okay? But we are going to power ahead with the talk. It's more of a talk than a presentation. It's going to be very interactive. We're going to give the audience a lot of opportunities to ask questions. So you've probably seen already that you can ask questions. Those questions will be answered towards the 2/3 into our talk. Okay. We're also going to engage the audience with a poll, and we will at some point near the end leave you with a special gift, okay, just to thank you for your time and interest. So without much more ado, okay, I'll jump straight into what we're going to talk about today, which is first of all to focus on this so-called new normal, this whole idea that COVID has had a crazy impact on everybody's lives. But it's not so crazy for startups, because to some degree, okay, startups can thrive. They can actually benefit in a certain crazy way from the fact that we're all working remotely. The fact is that people have now accepted that you can effectively do your work wherever you are. It doesn't matter if you're at home or in the office or in a satellite office near to home. The key thing here is that it's blurring the distinction between a developer in Edinburgh, a developer in Scotland, I was going to say Scotland there, I did. A developer in London, a developer in Edinburgh, or a developer in Canada. Okay, what you're looking for your startup is a developer that has domain expertise and or experience within your industry. That's what you're looking for. And you're looking for a developer that is within the top 3% of their group, basically. You want the best for your organization. You don't care where they're located. That's the key thing, okay? And what we're going to do today is we're going to show you how you can engage these people, first of all, okay? by using the playbook, not just engage them, but engage, motivate, retain, and reward appropriately so that they do their best work. So moving forward, okay, these people, who are they? Okay, they are essentially people that are at the top of their game. We call them 10 times engineers, okay, the top 3%. The top 3% on the next slide are at the very top of their game, and they have a degree of experience, a wealth of experience that one would associate with excellence, okay? But you just don't want an individual, you want the whole team, because teams are significantly more effective than individuals. So one of the studies by IBM that I've been looking at recently, okay, actually shows that a good team can be 200 times more effective than another team, whereas a great team, can be 200 plus times more effective than a good team. Okay, a great programmer or a great engineer is probably at the very, very most 10 times as good as a good one. So you can see the difference here. If you give precedence to teams over individuals, you're onto a winner. You can develop a good team into a great team. It's very, very unlikely that you'll be able to take a good person or a good individual and develop them into a great individual. So we're focused on teams, basically. And the idea here is that everything we do revolves around the team. It revolves around, trying to extract greatness from a team as opposed to from an individual. But if you add all of this up, what does it really mean? Okay, it means that from a remote perspective, from the perspective from the realization that you can now access great people wherever they are. Okay, how do you get started? Well, there are tools out there. There's a tool called HackerRank. HackerRank is great way to assess development talent. But what does it tell us, HackerRank? It tells us that actually the best programmers are actually in China and in Russia. They're not in the UK. They're not in the US. Okay, that opens up opportunities, obvious opportunities, because their cost of living is significantly lower. Okay, but it's not all about money. As I said, it's about whether they are a fit for your particular domain, or whether they have experience within your particular industry, or experience specifically working on whatever it is that you're trying to build. So you're focused less on that and more on the fit. Okay. The really, really good news is that you can put groups of people together and create great teams. You can have people in different geographies coming together to create a great team, which is one of the things that we do, but we're not talking about what we do. What we're talking about here is we're talking about the fact that this is just the starting point. Harnessing great talent is just where you start. It's not the end. It's the beginning, okay? If you really want to build your technology, if you really want to build effectively and cost efficiently, okay, your software product, you're going to have to go beyond just the fact that you can get great talent. You're going to have to go way beyond just the fact that you can harness talent wherever it might be, okay? You're going to have to start thinking about a playbook. You're going to have to start thinking about a mindset change. You're going to have to start thinking about a framework that you can use to actually manage that talent, to extract the greatness, okay? And we've got 3 things that we'd like to share with you, okay? The first thing is the foundation, the mindset that we know works because we have a lot of experience using this mindset to extract greatness from a team and to allow the team to do their best work. The second thing is a playbook. The playbook, we've actually captured the essence of what we're doing with this playbook in our own ebook, which we'll give you a copy of. It's one of our gifts after this webinar is over. Okay, so again, I'm going to remind Alex that there's another slide. Okay, and it's all about this mindset. Okay, because the mindset is quite simple. like I said, it's not enough to focus on the fact that you can get great teams. Underpinning that is something much more important. It's a focus from our perspective on creating partnerships with those teams, as opposed to treating those teams as you would a work. I'm not saying that there isn't a place for, focusing on the mindset that deals with workers, but there is a much bigger place in my heart, okay, for partnerships, much bigger, okay? The same applies to products versus projects. So if I'm running a project, it will end on a specific date. And the team that is working on that project, their mindset is in tune with the end date. Their mindset is not in tune with return on investment. Their mindset is not in tune with user needs. Their mindset is wrong. Their mindset should be, if you want to release something of great value to the world, a focus on ROI, user needs, benefit. I'm hearing myself twice now, but that's okay. So somebody's microphone is on. Okay. So their mindset should be more about products than it is projects. I'm not saying that projects aren't important. I'm not saying that an end date that is well defined, and I'm not saying that a requirement that is well scoped is not of great value. It is of great value. They're indispensable. Okay. But there's nothing worse than launching a product that people don't want to use because it's out of date, because it doesn't have the requirements that should have been thought about while it was being developed, but weren't quite implemented at the very, very beginning. So products over projects is one of the things we believe in. It's part of our DNA. It's one of the mindsets that we bring to underpin what we have created. And partnerships over workers is an important consideration as well. Alex, would you add anything to that? Is there anything that you want to add?
Yeah, of course. Products, if you look at the definition of product, it's a result of something. It's the result of a process, where projects more about a plan. So we, as especially entrepreneurs, we want to deliver value quickly. And by having this product management mindset as opposed to project management, we always look not at particular milestones in the plan, but particular deliverables. So at any point where we say, okay, we are ready to launch something, a feature or something, that we think about launching that value to our customer and pleasing them, acquiring new customers. So effectively progressing with our business in that sense. I've seen that a lot, and I've preached a lot about that in my work as a consultant. It does make a big difference to the team. Effectively, just thinking about, it's not a checkboxing exercise. We do need to deliver something of value. So yeah, I'll just say the importance of this is quite significant, and you could see, you can tell the results as well. You could see the difference as well.
Okay, I mean, I've worked with some very large organizations where you've got one person who's dedicated to making sure that the project is delivered on a particular day. And they don't care whether that project has all the features that the customer needs, because they're being rewarded for achieving that particular deadline. Now, that deadline is important. It's indispensable that we achieve that as well. But ignoring your customer needs, ignoring your ROI, ignoring all those benefits that will allow you to gain first mover advantage or allow your product to flourish in the market is a sin, and it's wasteful, and it should be avoided at every cost. So a product mindset over a project mindset for me is just so fundamental. And now we're going to ask the audience a few questions in a moment, aren't we? I think we've got a few questions that we want to ask the audience.
Okay, so yes, we'd like to run a short poll just to get to know a little bit more who's here, and just make it more interactive. So I'll launch the first poll. So please answer if when you can. Okay.
Give people a little more time. Typically, it takes about 20-30 seconds for everybody to answer.
Yeah. Okay, if we're done, let's do it in a few more seconds, and we'll share the results of this immediately, so we know who we have here. Okay. Okay, I think we got all the results in. So
that's what we got.
Okay.
Okay, cool. Good.
Okay, so we got people managing it.
So quite a technical audience, which is interesting, because I imagine that quite a few people might have experience of Agile, experience of Scrum, maybe as a framework. We use Scrum, but we use our own flavor of Scrum because we're primarily dealing with remote teams and they have very specific requirements. So we're not fixated with following the Scrum guide to the letter, but we are very focused on making Agile within our DNA. Okay. So was there another question?
Okay, so yeah, let's have another question on launching this. So it's just to get to know if you're planning to start or maybe already working on a project. Any software development would count here, be it an app or web app or normal sort of mobile app or whatever. So yes, please, if you could vote. Okay, I think we can close it now. Okay, so this is what we have.
Okay. Very similar to what we had before. So yes. All the project managers are working on something, which makes sense. And everybody else is planning. Okay. Be interesting to see what's holding people back from actually starting. Okay. So let's power ahead. Okay. And again, anybody who's got questions, please put those questions in now. And as we progress, two-thirds through, we'll begin to address them. Okay. So our playbook. So we've spoken a little about the kind of mindset that underpins the playbook. The playbook itself, it's really simple. Okay. It begins with not just user requirements, but going beyond user requirements. So user requirements, everybody knows that if you want to launch a great product, you've got to deal with your business reality. What's happening in your marketplace? What are the user needs? What features and functionality do you need to deploy to address these needs, okay, to generate ROI? But we think that with the right mindset, okay, so a product mindset versus a project mindset, you will continuously address user requirements. So as you progress through the development cycle, which could be 3 months, half a year, I mean, there are many examples of big government projects that have gone on for years, but then the government finds that they're not quite addressing user requirements anymore because things have moved on. I mean, there are tons of examples, but I'll leave Alex to kind of give some of his examples later on in a moment. But examples from startups that we've worked with in the past, where, for example, you begin work, but maybe the startup founder comes to the table with a very project-centric approach. They just want to deliver. They just want to reach a particular date to launch because the marketing department and the other departments seem to need to do something that is important to the startup. This is all important, but what's more important, as I said before, is this idea of ROI. Do you want your product to generate a return on investment? Do you want to be competitive within your marketplace? Do you really want to address user needs? Or do you really simply want to launch a product that doesn't quite address the needs and the realities that have changed during the development lifecycle? So user requirements, but going beyond user requirements is way, way, way more important, because you need to have this product versus project mindset to be able to do that. Alex, you want to bring some examples from government, maybe?
Well, it's worth mentioning that the government created an entire agency, 500 people working on the premises that every digital service that's been built at the moment has to follow pretty much what we've listed here. This is not a kind of revolutionary stuff. It's all based on the best practices of startups. Comes from the US. It's based on the book of Eric Rice called The Lean Startup, and also on the Agile Principles. So particularly for user requirements, there's a special sort of a gate process in government where if some department wants to build a digital service for citizens or for their internal staff, it has to go through this validation of user requirements and some other stuff as well, but the focus is in user requirement. Have you captured the right user requirements? Is this really needed? Does it solve problems for users? The team that wants to build or effectively spend public money, they need to prove that, a problem exists and they will solve it with their digital service. If things are a little bit shaky, actually Cabinet Office and this agency that's under Cabinet Office can actually forbid them to continue spending public money. So unfortunately, that's not a wide practice in the private sector, and this is where some of the medium and big companies fail massively. So there's all these examples, and effectively in the recent years, you see how in the banking, the traditional banking's losing customers. So we're talking about retail banks, and they're challenged by the so-called challenger banks, and it looks like it's a little bit counterintuitive. Why would a new unknown institution would take all the customers just based on the right application of those principles? Whatever they deliver as an app just works better than traditional type of development. So yeah, there's definitely a lot of thoughts put here. Simple principles, but they're very, very efficient.
Fantastic, thank you. So that's point number one. Point number two is, again, another very obvious point around planning and preparation. And you'll be surprised how many organizations, come to us and, they want to build something, but there's no real defined requirements. There's no real plan. There's no real understanding of what they need. We believe in a kind of two-pronged approach. You need to define upfront what you're looking for, and then you absolutely need to go through discovery. Discovery is a much more in-depth look at what you're looking to build, because without discovery, the risk is that you'll build the wrong thing, or you'll use the wrong technology, or there are just so many reasons why you might fail. And the process that we use, again, Alex, you've got some really good examples from government that I think address discovery, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, so everything starts with a discovery. It's a must. Again, the discovery produces a particular set of outputs and deliverables. This documentation on this is how we find out the problem and the needs for and this is how a technology will solve it, but also capture the right attributes to this solution, right? Just to ensure it solves the problem. And on top of that, you give a proper thought on technology that is required here. And that means technology that will serve its purpose, not necessarily the best and top and edge and sort of a technology. This is, I'm getting to the next bit on the technology fads item. And I have to say, this particular item is a stumbling block for a lot of founders. I've spoken to a number of founders, and you typically hear someone saying, well, I've got this fantastic idea for an app. I just need to find my CTO to get started. So, okay. Obviously, these are more non-technical people. They don't really have much of a understanding and much of a confidence that they can make the right choice. But when you ask them the obvious question. So how about finding someone? There's a bit of a trust issue. There's a bit of a, and they're right, because a lot of agencies, a lot of companies out there, teams, they don't really follow that process. They don't do the due discovery process on technology, and clients, founders get advised to use a particular technology that plays out not very well, and it's a waste. And that makes the founders really risk averse in going forwards and implementing the idea. And this is something which we thought a lot about, how to overcome in our particular startup. And we just taken the best practices, and it could be overcome easily. So you don't have to be a technical guru to do the discovery, as long as who you're working with know how to do this. Yeah.
But again, you see, in addition to what Alex has just now said, again, coming back to the mindset, this whole mindset around products versus projects. Again, as I said before, it's not that we don't like projects, we love projects, but we value products more. Okay, and the reason we value products more is because they are, in many respects, they force you to focus on, what is it, what is the outcome that you're looking to achieve? What is the return on investment that you are hoping to achieve, and how will your product achieve it? What do you need to do? What do you need to build? What do you need to change? Because this whole idea of planning, okay, many people believe that the plan should be rigid. It shouldn't be rigid. I've seen so many Gantt charts, okay, out there that fail to deliver. Okay, they're colorful, they're bright, they're professionally formatted, they're polished. People spend weeks, months developing their Gantt charts. But at the end of the day, I've not seen a single Gantt chart that has delivered the due date or the delivery date that it promised. Not a single one. And I'll challenge the whole audience to, we don't have a poll around Gantt charts, but if we were to ask that question, if you want to put in your own in the question area, anybody who's had a Gantt chart, actually achieve its predicted date, I'll buy you a pint when we're all properly out of lockdown.
I just want to add on this topic. I worked for Cabin Office, coaching their team on delivering particular projects. And yes, as you mentioned in the beginning, I had this person, the Gantt chart person, and there was someone with a PMO kind of function. And because I was running the whole team as in an agile process, very flexible, this person's full-time job was to update the Gantt chart on a weekly basis. So, tells you something, right? So it's
yeah.
The point.
Okay, now I know that Kevin's gonna, sorry, not Kevin. Lucas is gonna push me forward because I think I'm kind of suffering time-wise. I'm kind of behind.
Yeah, I was gonna say time in about 20 seconds.
We can't see you, Lucas.
No.
Are you in the dark?
You want to see me?
Ah, yeah, come on. Show your face.
Hello, everyone.
Hey, excellent. Thank you, Lucas.
Of course.
Okay. So the next point, the next point here is it's really about technology. Okay, it's about addressing this fixation with some people have using a particular technology. Why? Because it's the latest craze. Why? Because everybody else is using it. Well, actually, my saying is never let the tail wag the dog. Yeah. Figure out what your business needs. Figure out what your industry requirements are, what your business requirements are, sorry, okay, before you select your technology. It's obvious, it's common sense, but it's surprising how many people do not do this, okay? It's sometimes due to the fact that things are fashionable. I mean, I belong to the London Blockchain Foundation. We created a foundation, there's 100 of us. We all put money in to create events and to promote what we believe is a great technology. But there are organizations out there, and some of our members are actually guilty of this, okay, who've launched projects with the blockchain label simply because it was fashionable. Not just fashionable, okay, but because they were better able to attract VC money like that. It's amazing. I say don't do it. I say don't do it because you're creating the wrong foundations. okay? You are creating the wrong expectation in the market. And if you've got the wrong foundations in a building, it's going to crumble sooner or later. And technology is exactly the same. So technology should be determined by business needs. It's common sense. But you'll be surprised how many organizations don't follow that simple piece of common sense. You should have a set of criteria. The criteria should include things like, what is my likely total cost of ownership? It should include things like, how long will it take? It should include things like, is there a ecosystem of developers who are skilled in the maintenance of this technology? It should include many things, but it shouldn't be based on fashion. It shouldn't be based on the fact that your friends or your competitors are using a particular technology. It's got more to do with utility than anything else. Alex, anything you want to add to that?
I just said countless times I've been through that as technical advisor on many projects. We've gone through the big data phase, cloud, AI, blockchain, and I have to say, I've probably seen this justified as a choice in about 20-25% of the cases. So the rest of it was just someone comes in, decides that's a good thing to do, not really justified. So we from in discovery just need to, discovery includes a little bit of an architecturing on your system, and one main rule of building an architecture is you have to have rationale for every choice that you do. So it's a very structured process, and I'm surprised how light-hearted someone is just deciding on very complex technology to use and then failing miserably. So yeah, as I say, a lot of fads out there.
Yeah, and similar. You could put a similar. I mean, it's a similar thing for choosing your expert. You don't choose your expert before you choose your technology. It's the other way around. You start with the business needs. You then progress to the technology. You then progress to your expert. Because if you go to your expert first, your expert is going to suggest what they know. Again, it's common sense. An agency will always be biased towards the stuff that they know, okay? And again, I like to use the phrase, don't let the tail wag the dog. Don't let the agency, okay, determine what you do. And again, just go back to basics, get the right foundations. The technology at this point is your foundation. You know what you've got to use, or what is best for your business. Go to an agency that has got that. Get a shortlist. Get an independent expert, okay, who is knowledgeable about the market to assess the agencies and to figure out which ones are best for you. Don't go to a single agency. Don't give them license to determine what technology you use, because they're only going to recommend what they know. Because obviously, every developer spends a lot of money, a lot of time developing their expertise in a particular programming language or bunch of programming languages, and nobody, okay, is going to suggest something that is outside of their sphere of expertise. It just doesn't make sense. So why would you expect an agency not to be biased? They're always going to be biased. Your job is to seek independent advice, and to do so again and again and again at every stage. Independent advice to select your technology, independent advice to select your agency. Those two things, again, after your business needs, are the foundation of your new shiny product that you're looking to build. Okay. Again, Alex, anything you'd like to add to that? Like a nice example, maybe?
With many examples, but I'll just bear some of those. But what I want to say is that I've got echoing again.
Yeah, there's a bit of an echo going on, but not much we can do about it.
Okay, so what I want to say is that sometimes we do that in our process. The bias could be flipped on the other side. If we see an agency that's only dealt with, say, medical stuff, obviously now that domain knowledge and these technologies choices there and expertise there, it makes them very suitable candidates for someone who's looking to you know got into medical sort of stuff type of startup. So yeah, there's always a bias from an agency, but with the right management you can flip it into your advantage. But absolutely, yeah, have a very open mindset when you go to choices and look into what team you hook up with to build your product.
Okay. Now I think we have another poll. Okay. Now the next point, I'm not going to talk about it now, management, because that's actually part of the framework that we want to discuss with you. So let's do the next question for the audience to kind of shake people up a bit. Anybody who's not quite paying attention, pay attention now. We have another question.
Yes, so as you can see, this is a photo of the London city of London, taken a little bit, I think it's in April, from what I've gathered, and it's virtually empty. So that's not the weekend. So next poll comes in and asks you just to get your feel about the remote working as a whole. Are you planning to continue in that, or do more of this, or you have to go back to an office? Okay, we got almost everyone, just a few more seconds. Okay, I think everyone's put their choice. Oh.
Looks like it's taking a little time to load. Oh, there you go. Yeah. All right. Oh, wow. That is so cool. So nobody's going to be in the office only. Interesting. Really interesting. But unsurprising, you know, I mean, how can we be surprised? You know, we're going to be a bit of a hybrid as an organization as well, but mainly, okay, home and remote based. So by remote, what does that mean? It means a satellite office. It means an office that isn't too far from home, that's within 15 minutes. And just by the way, okay, the ZE behind builds, okay, it stands for zero emissions. We don't want people traveling. We don't want people traveling excessive distances. We do want to be able to bond as a team, okay? So coming together in a remote office location from time to time, coming together in a central office location from time to time is part of what we're about, okay? But we don't want to be spending a lot of time on the road or in trains. Zero emissions is the goal. We know it's not achievable, but it's a worthy goal to strive for. And, you know, just looking at the trajectory of projects that we are looking to bring onto the platform, our strategy should enable us to save about 150 tons of CO2 over the next 12 months. That's the goal. That's the goal. Okay. The number of projects we're looking to bring on board, okay, and the number of car journeys that we're looking to avoid. Now, these are car journeys across the development team, car journeys across the team itself, the internal team, okay, and car journeys also for clients. So clients don't have to come to an office. They don't have to attend a presentation and drive to it. 150 tons. That is equivalent to about, how heavy is an elephant? Does anybody know? The last time I did the calculations, I've done it before, I think it was something like 200 elephants. So it's a lot of carbon dioxide, okay? It's a lot of stuff. It's quite heavy. Anyway, moving forward, the next point on the agenda, okay, so we've talked about the mindset, okay? The mindset, you know, products versus projects and partners versus workers, okay? We've talked about the playbook, okay? Now, part of the playbook is actually a framework, and it's that last item that we call management. And it begins with values, of course it does. You know, how do you have management without values? And then we have principles, and then of course we have some rituals and artifacts. Now, this is for some people, I'm sure, beginning to sound like Scrum. Well, it is Scrum. It's our own flavor of Scrum, okay? So the values are the ones that we're all familiar with. You know, we need to be open. We need to be courageous. Now, what does that mean? Open, we know what it means, okay? Transparent, open. Courageous, what does that mean? Well, Google has a great definition for it. I can't remember the definition, but it has a lot to do with psychological, what they call psychological safety, the ability to speak truth to authority, the ability to critique anything and anyone, okay? We call it courage. You need to be courageous, and the organization you work with needs to give you an environment where you can be courageous, because without that critique, without that input, you don't get growth. You don't get growth as a person, you don't get growth as an organization. And it's important because it affects your product as well. If you're building something and your development team isn't courageous, doesn't have psychological safety, they're not going to be, and the reason that we mention this, okay, is also because the team could be based anywhere. They could come from a different culture where being open or where being courageous is not the norm, okay? So these are the values, okay, that we need to actually build into that relationship for it to work. It's the framework to manage that relationship. So openness, courage, okay, respect. I don't care where you are based, okay? I don't care how old you are or how young you are, but we've all got to respect each other. Again, this is common sense, but it's surprising how many organizations do not adopt common sense. Respect is fundamental, okay? But we also need, in addition to respect, we need this thing called collaboration. And it's only when you have, okay, openness, it's only when you have, you know, respect, it's only when you have those ingredients that you get this thing called collaboration happening, okay? And when you have collaboration, you get focus. You get focus, which is just so powerful, because what focus gives you is it gives you the ability to attract other like-minded people to your cause. I was at Gartner for 5 years, okay? I ran a team there. I was given a blank slate to create a new business, okay? Now, I didn't have any resources, okay? My number one priority was to attract resources. Year one went by, not very much happened. My boss was getting itchy feet, I was getting itchy feet, okay? Year two came, he sent me on a course, I came back, and I learned these values. And I began to attract resources like honey attracts bees. It was incredible, really. Adopt these values and your products will attract the attention it needs to be successful. Your team will be significantly more focused if you treat them with respect, if you treat them with, you know, the care and attention that they need. If you adopt all of these values, and we're going to give you a copy of our book afterwards, which explains in more detail what these values are, because I know that Lucas is looking at me with that eye telling me about time.
Yeah.
We'll give you a copy of the book and you can read it at your leisure, in your leisure. Principles are really important too, okay? So, you know, just focus it on value. Again, it's common sense, isn't it? If you're building something, why focus on everything? Well, the reason that people focus on everything is because they don't prioritize. And most entrepreneurs find it hard to prioritize. Most people come to us and say, well, I want it yesterday. I want you to build it yesterday. Well, that's reasonable to a certain degree for some people, but it's not going to work. You can't have a focus on everything. You've got to prioritize. And typically what we tell organizations is prioritize whatever will bring you value first. That's the first point in our principles, value prioritization, okay? The next point is this whole idea of agile. Iterate, iterate, and iterate, and iterate. You're not going to get perfection on the first run. If you strive for perfection, if you strive to plan for perfection, you're going to be forever planning. Iterate, iterate, okay? The next point in terms of principles is this whole idea of time boxing. It's what we're trying to do right now. We're trying to keep this meeting to a point where we don't overrun, we don't disrespect our audience. And we adopt this same mentality for everything that we do. Okay, so we have a stand-up meeting within our own little organization, okay? And it's time boxed every morning for 10 minutes. We have a weekly meeting. It's time boxed for 45 minutes. Everything is time boxed. And that's just one of the key principles within our own framework as well, time boxing, okay? Another really interesting one is this whole idea of within your team, okay? Now, you might think as an entrepreneur that you've got many answers, but guess what? There are tons of people out there that have better answers. They're called experts, okay? And your team, they're a bunch of experts. You want to let them self-organize. You want to let them have full autonomy, full control over what they're doing. And it's just one of those principles that a lot of organizations might wish to implement, but they don't. They want to micromanage, they want to control. Well, our principle is let these teams thrive because they're self-organizing, because they have autonomy, because you, as a startup leader, you're giving them purpose, you're giving them a goal to aim for, but that's where your involvement ends. Okay, of course, you need to maintain the list of work that they have to do. You have to give them direction, but you don't have to micromanage. You want to let them self-organize. Really, really important, okay? And then, of course, we've got this whole idea of being able to use what we call empiricism, okay? It's really important because it's all about being transparent, and if you're transparent, then you've got this whole opportunity to inspect work and to have the work inspected by others. And because it's transparent and because it's being inspected, you've got the opportunity to adapt. Am I waffling?
A little bit. I'm looking at the timer.
All right, okay. So again, I'll leave this, you'll get it in our book, basically. It's all there, okay? Values, principles, but I will not, I'll continue on rituals and artifacts because they're really important. The rituals that, this thing that we use called Scrum, it has a rhythm to it, okay? It has a rhythm. There are some rituals that are just absolutely essential. Humans are ritualistic beings. We need rhythm. We need habits that we adopt. We need to wake up at a certain time every day. We need to go to bed at a certain time every day. We need to have, a certain number of meals each day. Well, the same thing happens with, our version of Scrum. We have certain meetings that just have to happen at certain times. And those meetings, like I said before, they have to be time boxed. It's one of our principles, okay? And they have to have certain outputs, and that refers to the artifacts. So the first big output that we're looking for is something tangible, some work that has actually been done, that is of greatest value. One of our principles, value prioritization, to our client, okay? So an increment of work, something of value to the client that they can actually use. It needs to be done. It cannot be half done. The number of times that people half do something and then waste effort going back to polish it, it's unreal. You want to do the work or you don't want to do it. You do it. And it's done, as we say. And the client can use it and everybody's happy. So I'm not going to go into all the detail here because I've got to move on to the next point, which is actually a gift that we have for you. And one of our colleagues, Kevin, is actually going to talk about that. And Kevin, over to you.
Yeah, thank you. So I get to come in at this point and basically give stuff away, which is quite nice to just chip in and do. So in addition to the ebook that you'll receive for attending this webinar, we also basically want to offer you a free subscription to our platform. For 1 month, as a thank you for attending, we want to be able to give you the subscription for free. Basically, we want to give it to the first 10 people from this webinar that contact us. I will follow up with an email as well with the details in. But effectively, what I want to do is just run through what the offering is. What are we giving you? What's the subscription? What is the build model? And effectively, what we want to do to begin with is to give you a foundation. We want to provide you with a professional, basically an RFQ document that we can capture your requirements clearly. So if you are going to talk to an external team to do software development for you, then basically they need to know everything in a set format, and we'll get that easily put together so you can provide that. Also, in addition, we offer a validation service where we will validate your requirements and make sure that you're using the most appropriate technology to deliver those requirements. And then the thing that I think will be the biggest buy-in and the biggest point of interest will be based on the RFQ, we will put you in contact with top 3% experts in this field, and we'll provide you with around 4 or 5 firm proposals and quotations to carry out the piece of work. So effectively, we'll vet the team. We know them, we trust them, and in return, they will provide you with a clear project scope to carry out the work on your behalf with a clear project price. The subscription itself, there's no commitment, so we're not going to ask for credit cards or anything like that. It's purely free to give you a taste of the platform. And what we want to offer basically is we want to put you in touch with freelancers and people that have got experience of developing software platforms. So if you've got an entrepreneurial idea, they're the people that will deliver it for you. As built, as part of this platform, we'll provide you with a management dashboard and regular reporting, so you can see where the documented process is and how the project's moving forward. And also, we'll provide you with escrow management. So effectively, you have the ultimate lock or unlock on whether you are paying for the software development and the project work as it's going on. So you have that security of working with builds, that any sort of perceived risk is taken out of that by us being able to do that with you. And effectively, like I said, it's usually a £96 a month subscription, so it's something we were looking to give you free. And I'll follow up with an email after this and allow you to basically let me know whether you want to go ahead with that or not. But for the people that responded earlier saying that you are looking to design projects in the next 3 months, I certainly think this is worth a go. So that's all for me. It's free subscriptions.
Cool. So we now have, I think, an opportunity for questions. And some people, I think, asked some questions earlier on. During the registration process, people were given an opportunity to ask. So we're going to give precedence to those who have already asked their questions. Okay. And then we will address all of the others that have come in so far. So we've allocated, how long do we have, Lucas?
About 3 more minutes.
Ooh.
Till it's 7:30.
Well, if people are happy to wait for a bit longer, sorry about the time. I just wasn't looking. If people have to wait a little bit longer, okay, we'll obviously, this is not going to automatically stop. We have the platform, it's our platform. If you're happy to wait a little bit longer, then please do. We'll probably need about 5 minutes for the questions that have already been asked, okay? So without much more ado, do you want to dive into them, Alex?
Yeah, sure. So I've got this list already, pre-asked questions. So there's one question on how much would it cost to build an app, which is as generic as it is. Yes, how long is a piece of string, as normally is the answer, but I have to say that in terms of, yeah, I mean, it so depends on your requirements, and I suppose we've quoted projects anywhere from, I don't know, even 5K to 10, 15K. It depends really on what needs to be built there, what platforms, etc. So it's worth mentioning that normally it will not cost you more than, or much more than what you normally pay by just contacting. It's actually, we're looking to reduce this price as well for you, because this kind of lower management costs that are provided by machines on our platform, this what's kind of makes it cheaper. So yeah, so anywhere from within 5, 10, 15, so it depends on your requirements.
It all depends on the requirements, but more importantly, the subscription, okay, would allow people to answer that question within 24 hours. Yeah,
that's it.
So
yeah,
whoever asks that question, contact Kevin, okay, and Kevin will be able to sort you out very, very quickly. I would say 48 hours at the very, very most, you'll get a quote. You'll get 4 quotes.
That's it. And these are quotes from these are quotes from people from teams that we know very well. They can deliver, and they will specify when they can start working on it. So most of them are happy to start as soon as, right? So so there's a question.
You better move to the next few questions.
Yes. So there's one. Could you explain your management system that you kind of build your platform or suggest? Again, I'll just won't go much. That's in the ebook. So yeah, you can have a look. It's all based on these principles there. How much of a saving would you make using this framework or your framework? So build it.
This we can answer because we have some experience there. Okay. And do you want me to take this, Alex?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Please go on. Get
okay.
The next one.
So in a nutshell, okay, we expect that anybody who uses the framework, we're not saying uses builds, but if you use this framework, okay, you'll get 2 benefits, okay? Now, there's been a study by a company called the Standish, is it the Standish Group? Standish Group? In 2018, they produced a report called the Chaos Report, and it was based on a comparison between companies that used Scrum versus companies that didn't. Companies that use the more traditional method of project management. And the result there was basically that you were 3 times more likely to be successful if you use Scrum, okay? What does that mean? It means that you are 3 times more likely to be able to deliver your product within your budget, 3 times more likely to be able to achieve your delivery dates, 3 times more likely to achieve the quality that you had envisaged for the product. So I can't give you specific percentages for how much you're going to save, okay? But you are definitely going to have a much more reliable outcome for your project or product. Next question.
Yeah, you mostly save on the potential mistakes that you avoid with our platform, let's say this way. So, well, yeah. Okay, so yeah, so there's a question: how much quicker would it be versus just traditional direct approaches? Yeah, we looked at that. The speed of delivery is integrated into our framework and the platform. In fact, we've got mechanisms that will detect any slowing down of the pace of the project and alert you, give us an opportunity to correct the process and the project. So yeah, once you set your pace, you won't have any artificial delays there. So it is quicker than just a normal approach. Again, depends on the quality of the teams, but and the experience. But without platform, you got that extra assurance as well that the speed will continue. So what challenges such as comms and collaboration do you use?
That last question?
I think so. Yeah, that's the last one. Yes.
So could you repeat the question again?
So it's what challenges such as communications and collaborations do you envisage in the process? Well, I suppose that's to do with offshore team mostly, or any team.
You want me to take it?
Yeah, okay, go.
Okay. So with let's look at these 2 things separately, okay? Communication and collaboration, okay? 2 separate things, okay? Communication, we've got modern tools. We've got modern tools called GoToWebinar, Zoom, and many others for communication, okay? And over the past few months, we've all seen that we can communicate. We still need, okay, a little bit of face-to-face, okay? But for a project, okay, that is well-defined using well-known technology, you shouldn't have a problem. And that segues into this thing called collaboration. To what degree can you effectively collaborate? Well, it's very similar to communication because it's similar tools, and the tools are evolving. There are many more tools available right now, okay? Many more tools that have been launched on the market that effectively respond to the crisis that we're in, where everybody who can work remotely has had to work remotely. These tools include tools like Microsoft Teams, Slack, Miro. There are just so many of them, really. Entrepreneurs are responding. And I don't see personally communication as being a problem. I personally do not see collaboration as being a problem. And then, of course, you've got to figure out what type of problem are you trying to solve through more collaboration, okay? If it's because the problem is not well defined, then address the source of the problem. Define your project more accurately, define your requirements more accurately, work on your product backlog. I'm not going to explain what a product backlog is, it's in the book. Work on your product backlog, refine your product backlog, make sure that your team is up to date with what's in the product backlog, okay? Use the tools, use the framework, okay, that we have discussed today and that's in the ebook to do this work more effectively. And so you don't have the issue of collaboration because it's really a non-issue. I would say, okay, that if you are trying to invent something fundamentally new, okay, or you are using technology that has not been tested and tried, where there is a greater need for collaboration with the client, then it might be a problem, okay? But for most projects, for most products that are being built today, the grand majority, 99.9%, you are using technology that's been tried and tested. You are not reinventing the wheel. Your end product may be something fundamentally new and innovative, but the technology that you're using is not. And for that reason, don't worry about collaboration, and certainly do not worry about, you know, communication. It's never going to be an issue. Okay.
Yeah, I think these are all the questions. Yeah, so let's see if anyone's raised any more questions. Okay, there's a question from Praveen saying, how is Builder different from competitors?
Well, that's a good question, and we don't want to be like trumpet here. It wouldn't be appropriate. But you know what? One of us will contact Praveen. You know, Kevin, do you want to speak to Praveen at some point? Because we don't know of any other company out there who does a subscription-based service, first of all, okay? And we don't know of any other company out there that can assure delivery. We do know of companies, for example, who will give you a short list of you know, teams that can do the work for you, okay? But we don't stop at the short list. We go on. We help you define your requirements. We help you to validate your technology. And then we provide ongoing management and quality control so that you are much more likely to achieve your objectives. And of course, all of that is expensive, but we have a lot of inbuilt automation to be able to do this, in addition to certified agile product managers that provide a degree of oversight and supervision, but not to the degree that it puts an undue cost burden on the project, on the product's cost. So I'm very, very aware of time, and I'm very, very aware that out here it's getting really dark. And
you're dissolving in the dark. Yeah.
I'll just turn on the lights for a moment. Oh,
That's
dear.
good.
Yeah, a little bit better. Yeah, it got dark really suddenly, didn't it? I think we're at the end. Are there any more questions, Alex? Anything else?
No, that's all.
But Praveen, you should speak to Kevin or to Lucas regarding that, because they'll be able to give you a much more convincing answer than I've been able to give right now. But yeah, okay, good. Audience, You've been great. Panel, thank you very much, panel. Audience, I salute you. We salute you. And we look forward to welcoming you to the next webinar. We're planning it for next week, and it's going to address some of the issues that startups have with funding, especially during the COVID era. So watch this space, look out for an invitation, and we look forward to welcoming you. And also look in your email box for information from Kevin, okay, with the gift, or gifts, I should say, the ebook course, and also your subscription, complimentary subscription to Builds. We salute you again. Have a great evening.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Have a good one.